As we sit here in downtown Springfield, we can see from the windows of this office building, I-91 carves a swath through the center of Springfield through downtown. It cuts it off from the river. A consultant with the cultural development agency Future City, which is working on development plans in Springfield, has said that configuring I-91 to connect the riverfront to downtown Springfield could transform Springfield economically, could attract future investment, spur cultural growth. Do you think this is a project worth pursuing? Is it something that we should be investing money and time in at the state level? And Chip, you can field this one first.
Yeah, anything that is worth pursuing, anything you're talking about expanding the economy in Springfield. You know, Springfield's the center of our universe here. If Springfield does well, so does Ludlow and Longmeadow and East Longmeadow, and the entire region does well. So we certainly always want to incentivize Springfield to do well. And that's one of the reasons I'm getting into this race, because I think that we have that big gap right there. So if there's ever a plan to do something with a corridor, whether it's street levels, connect ourselves to the river, that's certainly worth looking at. But we always need to be cognizant of the costs of these things. We looked at the city of Boston, and they had their big dig. Sure, it made a tremendous amount of improvements, but it was the largest construction project in the world at the time. It ended up going billions and billions of dollars over budget. As somebody who runs their own business, I want to be very mindful of your tax dollars and make sure that any improvements that we're making down here are certainly going to be done in a very responsible way, so that your tax dollars are being spent wisely. And I think that's something that our Massachusetts legislature has kind of lost their focus a bit. You know, President Rosenberg recently said that Massachusetts has a revenue problem. I don't think we have a revenue problem at all. I think we have a spending problem, quite frankly. And looking at things like welfare reform, programs like that, that's where we can put some money back into our neighborhoods and redirect them towards programs that are going to truly incentivize businesses to come down here. And if it don't, I'm sorry.
Oh, no problem. Thank you, Chip. Senator Lester.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up Mark Davies' kind of analysis and looking at the barrier we have to the river. Mark Davies works for an organization, or is part of an organization called Future Cities, which looks at the way we revitalize and reinvest in our urban centers, places like Springfield or Holyoke or Chicopee close by. It's modeled off of really transformative investments and redevelopments that have happened in places like Somerville, for example, which used to have economy very similar to Springfield's, and then made that transition to an innovation and a high-tech economy. I worked actually to bring Mark to Springfield for that event that you're referencing, where he made those comments about the I-91 project. Through actually work we did at the Mass Cultural Council. And actually that work at the Mass Cultural Council was under threat when a veto was put forward of a 60% cut to those programs, which would have made investments like what Mark was just talking about impossible. I think it's absolutely worth looking at. It's certainly a long-term project. We have an opportunity because right now we're doing a several $100 million renovation and refurbishment of I-91 in the exact place where we would consider moving it below grade or underground. It's probably not something that can happen in the short term or in the immediate term for obvious logistical and cost reasons, but I think it's worth examining, because here's the thing. If we take a look at it and we study it and it comes back and it says it's going to be too expensive, as Chip was mentioning, or it's not going to be feasible, that's valuable information to know. So then we can know that and we can move on to other projects and other places to focus our attention. But if the research comes back and says, it actually could be realistic and it could be affordable if we thought about it a little bit differently, if we did this in a creative way, if we worked on it, if we phased it in certain respects, and the benefits would be 10, maybe 100 times what the cost would be in terms of, imagine having open access to the Connecticut River from downtown Springfield, what that would do for the community, what that would do for the businesses here, for the folks and the people that live here. I think it's worth pursuing, and that's valuable information for us to know.